Hi you guys, welcome back. It's pretty bad weather right now. It's really cold. It's been raining for the last 48 hours pretty much. The sun is going to be going behind those clouds again, if not just setting in a little while. So it's been basically about 24 hours since I posted my final video for the 31 days of January. And I just kind of want to give you an idea of what happened there at the last minute and the next morning. What happened really just put me in a hole, so even doing the video right now is difficult. But I wanted to get those 31 videos done for January. And my goal was a video a day. So even the very first day, I had to figure out how to get the iPad to actually upload a video. And I had to figure out the Studio app that creators use to upload videos, because they changed the Studio from 2 years ago. And then I had to figure out how to upload through the iPad because I didn't have a phone anymore. So that very first night of January 1st, I was trying to upload, and then the upload was taking forever. So in my head, I thought, okay, this is still going to be the video for this day, because technically I was finished with the video. But even that, in the editing process, it took me right up to midnight. And since the neighboring state it hits midnight an hour after where I'm at, I took the neighboring state's time clock, which is a little bit cheating, but for me mentally, I needed a win. I needed to start out with a win and not a loss. So that was the logic I went with. The reason that's applicable is because the very last video I did on the January 31st, also, I was editing right up literally till the very last second, and I'm about to show you a picture of that. And what you're going to see, if you look closely in both of these pictures up in the corner, you're going to see the time. And I actually took a picture on the iPad, a screenshot of the time that I was pushing to have the video record. So meaning my video's done, it's edited, everything's done, then I have to upload. And I can never tell, even still, because it depends on where I'm at, trying to use public Wi-Fi, and if the video's 10 minutes long versus a 30-minute long video, I can never tell how long it's going to take YouTube to upload the video. So I can't depend on that to get my video off a day. So my criteria was simply that I had the video done and it was now making it a movie, is what it's called. Like when you finish the editing and you push the buttons, then it says it's making a movie. And then that process also takes 30 to 40 minutes to make the movie, which is your video, your final product. Then you go to YouTube, and then you go through the process of downloading, which takes more hours. So in my head, as long as I had pushed the button to make the movie, I made it by January 31st. And literally, I'm not just saying the last second. Literally, you're going to see in these two photos that it was literally, I pushed the button right, it says 1 o'clock in the morning, because again, I'm going by the neighboring state. I did give myself that one allowance. I'm going by the neighboring state. I pushed that button 1 o'clock, and then it starts making the movie, and then I went back to the screenshot and I screenshot it again, and it was 1:01. So literally it was the very last second. I made my deadline for a video a day for January. Anyways, because I was working till the very last second, but I still wanted the videos to be, within the January deadline, I posted that last video right away after it finished making the movie of it. Then I put it on YouTube to post it right away. That means I'm sitting out there by this building trying to use their internet, and the downloading to YouTube took me till about 3:43 in the morning. So I didn't sleep much at all. I tried to sleep after that. The area that I was sleeping at in order to get that done was a crappy area. People came by at 6 in the morning, saw me there. So I maybe got an hour and a half It was cold anyways. The storm hadn't technically started yet, but it already had started coming in. And whatever, I mean, it was a bad night, but this is typical. And that's why this whole getting out of bed at 7 to 8 in the morning is just like, it's, well, I'm up at 6. People are all around me. So, like I said, so this is typical. Like this, that didn't put me in a bad mood. In fact, I was in a happy mood because I was like, yay, I did it. I accomplished it. Like, not exactly the way I thought it would. I would have liked it to be uploaded previous to midnight on January 31st. That's what I would have really liked and whatever. But in my head, I completed that goal. And I'm going to be jumping around a little bit in this video. You know, I'm trying to not go off on so many tangents so that the videos are shorter and so that I can stay on track of what I'm trying to say. But some of these tangents apply to what I'm trying to get at. So one of the tangents, so to speak, you know, a few videos ago I talked about my privacy and my boundaries for that privacy. And in another video, I mentioned about this debt that I have. And I told you I didn't really want to talk about that. I'm not going to talk much about it. But there are some things that I do have to say to help you understand some things. And I don't want to mention the debt. And I'm going to say this bluntly. Again, this is me. I don't want anybody else to feel offended by this. We all have our own prerogative in our own life. I have the right to have my prerogative. I told myself from a young age I would never be in debt. I would never go into debt. And I mentioned in another video that I had never gone into debt. And actually, as I was editing that, I was like, that's not completely true. So I want to be transparent with that. I did take out a student loan at one point, but I considered that in my mind, there was a specific reasoning for that. I'm not going to get into that in this video, but I just want to clarify that. So in accordance with the debt that I'm talking about and the shame that I feel, I told myself I'd never go into debt. I'd never be a part of that. I don't like the idea of debt. I think the way that credit card companies and all of these other programs get you into debt is a terrible thing. I think it's a terrible thing that they do. I think it's purposeful, and yet we choose. We have the ability to choose whether or not we fall into that trap. And I just told myself I never would, but with this depression, with everything that I was going through, with all of the trauma, it was like a final reaching through the dirt for my last breath. I already mentioned on that video the circumstance that I was in and why I chose, but I chose. And so I'm still in that trouble now. I told you guys just this very last video that I had 2 or 3 things that I have to do this year that I cannot procrastinate, that have to be done. This is one of those things. The reason I'm only telling you this is because of what happened that very next morning after I uploaded that video. And one of the reasons that I'm even here in this particular area, because it's too cold. It's too cold. I would never stay here. We're going below 30s, okay? A few nights have been in the 20s. That's below freezing. It's cold. I can handle a lot of things. Cold is not one of them. So, but I've had to stay here because of the situation that I'm in. And I'll be here in the spring because of that situation. And I do not want to be here in the spring because I have these sinus problems. And here in particular, there's these particular kind of trees that go into the atmosphere and they just wreak havoc on me. I don't want to be here. I also don't like it here. Like, I have to be here. But as far as privacy is concerned as well, this debt and the situation that I'm in right now and everything that pertains to that debtor, not only do I not want to talk about it, but they've also asked for complete discretion and privacy. So there are things right now that I'd like to show you, that I'd like to tell you, but I have to honor them as well. But basically, one of the reasons why I was next to this business using the internet to upload that video, and I just decided to sleep in that area, was because I needed to return an item. Over the Thanksgiving holiday and Black Friday, I purchased something that I really needed to do YouTube, but not like a high need. I can eke by without it, and I bought it over the Black Friday because the prices were great, but I knew that my funds were getting really low. I bought it through Amazon. Amazon allows you to return things up till the 31st that you buy for the Christmas holiday. So I was debating back and forth with myself. My funds are almost at zero. So knowing that the deadline for the return is January 31st, I have enough food. I can make it the next few weeks till I get a job or get money in my hands. I have a few things that I could sell, but because I don't know if that's going to come about, I had a choice to make. I can return those items and have some security, or I can keep the items and then really, really, really stress myself out. So I decided I'm going to return the items. Anyway, I went near these businesses in order to return it by the 31st. When I went on to Amazon to do the return, it actually gave me the option to return it on February 1st instead of the 31st of January. And because I was up to the deadline with trying to get this video out, I was like, okay, great. Well, if I can do it on the 1st, then I'll just go in that morning after I get all my videos put out. Anyway, so as I already said, I was up to the last minute doing that video, and then it didn't upload. I was by that building until 3:30 in the morning waiting for YouTube to finally upload it. Didn't go to bed till maybe 3:45 or 4 o'clock. I think the last time I saw the clock on the iPad, it was 3:43. So didn't get to sleep probably until about 4:30, and then people are around me at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I'm done. And the weather's coming in anyways, and it's going to rain and yada, yada, yada. Anyways, as it pertains to that debt, and the reason I even brought that up was because I was driving somebody's car that I shouldn't have been driving. Plain and simple. I feel bad about that. I shouldn't be driving it, but they allowed me to use it, and I was in a bind, so I used it. It's about as much as I can tell you without passing the boundary of their privacy as well. So the building that I was by using the internet, I had to cross the street to go over to the UPS store. And as I crossed the street and I went into the parking lot, it was also a Walmart parking lot was in there. And I went in, and when you enter from the main roadway, usually there's no stop sign for you. You go through, and the people that are coming from this side of the parking lot and the people that are coming from this side of the parking lot leaving usually have a stop sign here and a stop sign here. But when you're entering from the main road, usually you don't have a stop sign there, because that would be weird if you're coming through a green light to enter into this parking lot and there's a stop sign and there's only enough room for 4 cars. It doesn't make sense that there's a stop sign right there. And to be honest with you, I don't actually know if there was a stop sign there. Okay? Even right now, I don't know if there was. But I looked over at this guy that was sitting there in a white car, and I saw him stopped. I didn't look over to this side. And I didn't, again, the assumption is that that would be weird if there was a stop sign there, but there could have been. The fact of the matter is I didn't look both ways, regardless. And I went through, I saw this guy. I did not see this lady coming towards me. And she must have pushed on that gas pretty fast, because by the time I went through and she was right next to me and she was going fast. And by the time I looked over to see her, she was right next to this car. Telling you what, and because she was coming so fast, and because my life is like on this really tight teeter-totter, I had already turned the wheel, so I was headed this direction, and if I kept going, there's a curb and dirt, but there's this big tree right there, okay? If I turn to the right, I'm far enough into this intersection thing. If I jerk it to the right, I run into this white car that's sitting there at the stop sign. If I just press on the brakes, she doesn't have enough time to stop. And all of this, as you guys know, all of this is going off in your head in a split second. And so the only thing that I could think is, this lady cannot run into me, this lady cannot. That's the only thing. It's like, no, this can't happen, this can't. So I gun it on the gas. because I can see a very narrow way between this guy sitting at the stop sign and that tree. And this is a very low, small car, and it's probably gonna rip off this bumper, or at least hit this bumper if I have to go over that curb. So I don't really want to go over the curb, but it's gonna be the least amount of destruction. So I gun it, and I turn enough where I'm not going to hit the guy, but I'm going to go between him and the tree, and I gun it. And then right when I get to the curb, I can see the lady out of the corner of my eye. She swerves. So now she's going. If I didn't react the way I reacted and she didn't react the way she reacted, we would have hit. Period. End of story. It took her swerving, and it took me gunning it. And then I slammed on the brakes really fast. Anything that was in that car just went flying, and I didn't hit the curb. And I didn't hit the guy. The guy just stared at me like, you're such an idiot. And I am, 100%. And he just swerved past and left. He didn't even want to be a part of it, and I don't blame him. Once he left, I turned that way to get out of the way of anybody else, and this lady who had swerved around me, now she was kind of in front of me, so she's sitting right here, and now I'm sitting right here, and she rolls down her window. She's yelling at me. She's like, that was a whole stop sign you just went past, and yeah, and she's yelling at me. Now, this is a small tangent, but I just want you to know the frame of mind that I'm in at this moment. Last summer, I want to say from January all the way to November, for a few months, I was filled with anger. I was just angry all the time. I couldn't get this feeling out of me. I was just angry. And in part because when you live in the situation that I'm living in, you see fights all the time. You see people angry all the time. A lot of times people are just angry at you for just being alive and being homeless. They treat you like complete crap. There's just anger and vitriol all the time, and people treat you subhuman, and it's just all the time. I mean, I count in 1 week there was a fight every single day, and on 2 days 2 or 3 fights every single day. And I'm not talking about homeless people. I'm talking about going to the dollar store. There's 2 fights. There's a fight in the dollar store, and then outside the dollar store, I thought this one guy was going to run the lady over. During that period of time, just in November, same Walmart, I had walked through the parking lot, and now I'm ready to cross to go into the Walmart. 2 people were also crossing. This car was going to have to stop for those 2 people. So I entered to start walking too. And this guy he just rolls down his window, and he's like, "You stupid white bee," the B word. And it was so racist. I was so angry. I was so angry. I went in that Walmart to do my shopping, and the whole time I'm sitting here thinking of like this revenge plot in my head of how I could get back at this guy if I was big and strong, to just make him apologize to me, So now here I sit, and this lady's yelling at me, and she happened to be a black lady, and there's not a race thing, except that the way that guy responded to me, and I'm thinking, I can't handle this again, and I can't handle this right now, and I just can't, what just happened just threw my nerves, not just because of the situation, but because to even do this video is a lot for me, because I have just literally been in the fetal position for the last 24 hours trying to get over this and say, don't quit. You better go forward. So, but just the vitriol coming from her, the nerves, and the fact that if that would have happened, if she would have ran into me, it was my fault. I do believe I honestly don't know, but I do believe there was a stop sign. I don't know why she would say that there was a whole stop sign and there wasn't a stop sign. The fact that I didn't look at her, I feel like it was my fault anyways. The fact that I'm driving a car that I should not be driving, and if she would have ran into me, the damages to her car and the damage to that car, and then just the more surmounting debt. I just couldn't have handled it. I couldn't have handled it. I could not have handled it. I'm telling you guys right now, I could not have handled it. And well, I'm gonna finish telling you that, but I want to finish the story. So she's yelling at me, and in that moment, I'm thinking of that guy that called me a stupid white bee, right? And so I'm like, no. And honestly, because of the scripture reading of this month, and because of my goal of gratitude, it has helped my heart. And I was like, again, it was a split-second decision, but I was like, no, I need to be able to bring down this tempo. And I rolled down the window, and I just said to her, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I'm so sorry. That was totally my fault. I'm so sorry. And I started crying because just the anxiety, she had no idea where my life was and what that would have meant. And everything is just on this thread. And she's like, honey, you're okay. I'm okay. God is good. Everything is okay. So her tempo from being angry and wanting to put it in my face just went straight down. And I think it was the apology. I think it was me telling her that I was right. And I think also she could just see the complete desperation in my face. And how broken I was. And so she's like, it's gonna be okay, everything's okay, you have a good day, you be blessed, and she drove away. And I pulled over into the parking spots, and I just had a breakdown. I had to stop for a minute. Anyways, it's just, I'm really trying to get through this. And yeah, I don't want to publish this. It's very hard for me not to go back in that hole right now. And because then, as I'm sitting in that parking lot, I'm like, God, I don't understand. Oh, I really want to finish this video. I wish I could just turn off the emotion. I'm like, God, I don't understand because I'm trying. I literally just published a video talking about my goals, talking about how much I'm trying, the Jordan Peterson clip, can you just get out of bed? Is that all you can do if you can just get out of bed? I'm trying. How come No, I don't want to say why. I don't want to question God because I do believe there's purposes. But it's hard sometimes to see his purposes. And in 15 years, I have tried a lot of things to get out of this hole. I hate the lack of privacy. I hate it. I hate it. I hate people being around and the lack of privacy in my life, living this way. Anyway. Over 15 years, I have tried a lot of different things. I've tried I've tried. Oh my gosh. I have tried, and I've put, and I'm not talking little tries. I'm talking like I go, unfortunately, this is kind of part of my personality. I'm an all or nothing person. So when I try, when that cloud breaks, I do big things that put a lot of risk out there. Even this YouTube, this is one of the big things. This is risk. I'm being very vulnerable, and I'm sharing a lot of things. And if this doesn't work out, and then these videos live forever on the internet, and there's nothing that comes good of it, and you know, nobody knows I'm doing this. Nobody knows, and I don't want them to know. And between YouTube and one other idea that I have for a career, I had to choose between the two. And it's one of the reasons it took me so long to decide to do YouTube, because I feel like once I decide to do this, the other one's not going to be an option to me. But this is just something that's on my mind, and I don't know why. I don't really know why that commenter that said those things, and I hate to keep bringing it up because it's not, I'm over those feelings. I've forgiven them and moved on, but what they said will always ruminate with me, and what they said is not completely untrue. They said, why would you want to put yourself out here like this? Exactly. I don't know why. I really don't know why I'm doing it exactly. And so the only compensation that I have in my heart is that maybe it could help somebody. But I'm taking a huge risk too. And the type of risk that it will really hurt me if it's used in a bad way. Or if people from my past see this, I just don't want anybody to see it until I'm over it. And I'm secure in myself again. So I've tried. I lost all that money because I took a huge risk. I went into the debt because I took a huge risk to get out of this. I've done other things where I took a huge risk in trusting another group of people that I knew I shouldn't have trusted. And really, in my head, that's when I became homeless. I told you that I have one friend, only one friend in my life that's been with me from before this trauma happened. That they knew me before the trauma and they've known me afterwards. I have one friend. Then I have a second friend that only came into my life, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago. Those are really the only two people really in my life. You could say I kind of have a third one who when I go up north to help that individual that I told you about, I can stay at their house. But she doesn't know anything about any of this other stuff really. So it's only those two individuals that know anything, and my communication with them is spotty. Sometimes I'm in contact with the second one, and sometimes I'm in contact with the first one, but we can, like the first one I haven't talked to in a whole year or so. But anyways, both of them said, what are you talking about? You've only been homeless since this other thing happened in 2018. Like, I had the first trauma, which was the big one, the huge trauma, really. I had a bad childhood. My mom, bless her heart, I love her, and I forgive her, but she would acknowledge that she wasn't the best mom, so I didn't necessarily start off right, but the biggest trauma in my life was the trauma of 15 years ago. That was the biggest trauma, but I did go to another entity for help, and then that was like a smaller version of the first. Holy crap. So, and I had this sneaking suspicion, but I'm trying, and I put myself out there again and again, and maybe I didn't finish that thought. The thing is that those two friends thought that I'd been homeless for years before 2018, before that second minor trauma that reminded me of the first. You know, to me, that's when I became homeless, okay? To me, that's when it happened. But to them, they're like, no, honey, you've technically been homeless for much longer than that. And it was really hard for me to hear that.
hear that from this friend. She loves me. She would not try to hurt me. But it was very hard to hear that. And I went through this time of, I can't even accept that word. I don't even want to say that. I don't even want to say depression. It's very hard for me to accept that. That's why, like, the last video that I did do when my 2 years ended, you know, the last video that I posted before I started again this time was called Accepting Donations or something like that. And I talked about how grateful I was for everybody offering, and even somebody in the comments said, hey, I have this place and you could come work on my property and yada yada yada. And I was trying to explain why I can't do that anymore, because I keep getting into these situations and I give so much more than what I really need in return, and I can't do it anymore. I can't. I don't have the barometer. I don't have the boundaries. Clearly, I get in these situations and I don't have the boundaries to say no more. So at this point, I can only do what I can do that's in front of my face. And so this YouTube thing, it's just on my head, and I don't know why. I don't, you know, as pertaining to those goals, I want you guys to understand, I'm sitting in that video, and while I'm editing it, I'm smiling and I'm laughing, and it's like, geez, this girl, she seems reasonable. She seems level-headed. She seems logical. These goals they sound so put together. You know, she's got all this thought process, you know. Maybe there's not depression there. She's smiling, she's laughing, like, and I see myself. When I'm editing, I see myself. It's like, wow, yeah, you know, this is a whole new me, and these goals sound so right and so put together. But I have to let you know, like, I'm on this very tight rope. And that morning, just 3 hours after I upload that video, just 3 hours, if that lady would have hit me. And this is the thing, it's like, God, please, like, I see the crack in the clouds. I walk through, I take these huge risks to me, and anyways, after this happens and I'm sitting in that parking lot and I'm like, God, please, like, I'm trying. Every time that cloud breaks, I'm walking through it. I'm trying. And I'm putting these big risks out there. I'm really putting my foot forward. That parting of the cloud only gives me about that much light. Even though I'm making these big goals and I have this idea, it's only an idea. I have about that much light. I cannot see far. I can only see that much. I can only walk. I can only take the step. And the thing is every time I take a step into the, figuratively speaking, every time I take a step into the street to get across, because the other side is supposed to offer me something greater than what I've got right now, I get hit. I get hit by a bike. I get hit by a Mack truck. I get hit by a little SUV. I get hit no matter what it is. I get hit. But most of the time it's these Mack trucks. Like, it's huge hits. And when I get these hits, then I go into that hole, and I can be there for 3 months. I can be there for a year and a half. I can be there for 8 months. I can be there for 3 years. I'll be there, I don't know how long, till I see another parting of the cloud. But I keep getting hit. And in this situation, literally, now it was my own fault. I shouldn't have been doing that. That was stupid. And you guys, this is the thing. I'm literally on this tightrope. So you might see me, that I look put together and I look like, yeah, things are moving forward. Yeah, she's making improvements. At any moment, it can stop. And you guys don't really see, you don't see really the depth, okay? And I'm not entirely in the depth right now because I'm seeing that little parting of the cloud. But all I get to see is 1 step, 2 steps. I don't understand why I'm doing everything, or I don't see the whole vision of it, and I don't have confidence in myself at all that it will even come to fruition. In all reality, my life has taught me that every time I step into that street, I'm going to get hit. So it won't surprise me. I mean, down to the irony that I go to UPS and I have to print out the printing label. And they're like, well, it was working last night, but it's not working now. You have to go to another location. I don't want to drive this car anymore. I don't want to be on the roadway. Well, were your printers working last night? Yeah, if you would have come in last night, they were working. I mean, it's such the smallest thing, but it's like, it's my luck. So I'm like, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I'm actually surprised that we both missed each other and missed the accident. That's what I'm surprised. But I'm on this tightrope. I'm on this tightrope. And if I would have fallen off, if I would have gotten hit, and now I had to pay for her damages and the damages of this car on top of everything else, even the fact that I feel a connection to some of you guys, and you guys really are helping me, like your comments really are helping me, and I would not want to let you down by quitting again. I'm sorry. But that really, it would have demolished me. Would have. I can only handle so much. And how stupid, that was my own fault. But whether it's my fault or whether it's something that somebody does to me, it kind of doesn't even matter at this point. Every time the cloud parts, I take that step and then I get hit, man. I get hit. But what am I going to do? I can learn to never take the step. I can learn that the cloud parting is a fallacy and it's false and it's just trying to lure me. But what am I going to do? Because I've prayed to go into the ground, okay? I've prayed to go 6 feet deep. I've prayed for that. I wanted that. But I see some examples in my life of people who are suffering and they're not passing. And I know people who live till an old, ripe age with all this suffering. So I know there's a good chance that the more I just let myself sit here, I'm just going to keep suffering. I mean, I'm in my 40s. I could live to be 80. I can't do this for 40 years. I have no choice but to try when I have that little bit of something. I have no choice but to try, even though I don't want to. And for a good portion of that 15 years, I didn't. But for the last portion, I am. But I am on this precipice, and I am so sorry, and I don't want to fail I don't want to fail you guys, and I don't want to fail. Because I don't know what else to do. I don't know why this is something that sticks in my head. So the last 24 hours has been terrible. It's been terrible. And then on top of that, I had a stomach problem, and I've been in the bathroom for a good 6 hours, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's probably due to the stress. you know. And for those of you who are watching it and your heart is breaking for me, I love you. I appreciate that. I do. But I'm going to share some things and your heart's going to break for me and you have to allow it to break and move on. That doesn't mean that I'm going to accept donations. That doesn't mean that you can save me. You can't save me. The only thing that you can do is take the journey with me and cheer me on. That's all. And that's actually much more of a help than you even realize. I'm going to end there. Thank you, everybody who listened and, to this long video. Talk to you later.